Okay, so I have a spiritual lesson for you guys today, but I also need your advice in the natural, please. So, as most of you guys know already, if you follow my videos, I have a lovely, crazy puppy named Blueberry, who just had puppies herself. And now we have another crazy little puppy of our own. And if I hadn't told that story already, it's because we had recently moved to a house that has a big yard, like a lot of space, with no fence. We live out in the country, and our neighbor's dog came over into our yard while Blueberry was going through her first heat. And needless to say, I ended up with puppies, which we were worried about and didn't necessarily want to go through, but it ended up being such a blessing. So what we ended up doing was we put a fence up. We spent so long. We spent since the day we've moved in here, actually. So it's been almost 2 years since we moved in here. We've spent so much time. I've spent so many sleepless nights trying to figure out how to put a fence up. Just something to go around maybe a portion of our property or the whole property without spending a ton of money. And we've asked so many people their advice. I've contacted so many businesses asking their advice what to do. And there are just so many options. It's just dependent on, what we could afford, what we could go for. Okay, so long story short, what we ended up doing was we put up a fence using mesh wire and metal T-posts. And this has worked really well for our chickens. I know dogs are not chickens. And it financially, it worked out really well. The fence has been, I really do believe this has been the best option for us. And it's worked great for the kids because we were worried about the dogs, running around, running off, and we were worried about the kids. And now they have this great spot that is large but still blocked off. You can still see them. They can't escape. But we're having issues with Blueberry. She is so frustrating. She's so stubborn. She's so bad. She's still escaping. And it's driving me bonkers. And at first, I know dogs dig. And at first it was she was going under the fence in parts that were still loose. And so a brilliant tip that I figured out for those who have dogs and have issues with dogs going underneath fencing, and this only works for mesh fencing if you don't have a wood fence. It's good to, I think the best option is to dig farther down, put the fencing a little bit underneath, so that if they dig, they can't go under. Thank God she doesn't dig. She's not a digger. She's never been a digger, and neither is this next puppy. I hope that doesn't change. So she never gets under the fence that way. She gets under the fence, but she doesn't dig under the fence. She pushes her nose under the fence, bends the wire, and sneaks out. So a tip that I figured out, which is a thought that popped into my brain, and then I found somebody else on YouTube that had this advice. So this is not just my own idea, but it has helped in certain parts of my yard, is to get metal tent pegs. Metal tent pegs, if you haven't put your fence underneath or your dog's not digging or whatever. Metal fence pegs. And I bought 200 of them for $40 or something on Amazon. And you just slam it down so that they can't push under the fence. So that's been brilliant, worked really well in certain areas, but there's some areas that haven't been working, where my soil is very sandy in the majority of my yard, and so they just pop right back out, so she sneaks under. That has been covered. We put wood and other materials or whatever so she can't push under. She's not pushing under anymore. Where in the beginning there were spots of the fencing too that she was jumping right over. And for the most part we had that covered. And now she's still doing it. It's like every time I fix a spot, there's something else. And every time I fix a spot where she's jumping over, she learns how to jump higher. And she's jumping over my 4-foot fence. And it's It's so frustrating. And so if any of you guys have tips, please send them my way. And so today, I was outside fixing another spot where I figured out she's jumping over, tightening it up with wire and whatnot, and I just broke down. So exhausted and so done dealing with this. And the Lord gave me such a good spiritual parallel to this. And just spoke to me about how, like, because I just wanted to give up, right? I was like, done with this. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just going to huff and puff and go inside and just forget it all and just let her escape and whatever. But the Lord reminded me, and this was such a good lesson for me in the spirit, dealing with spiritual stuff and spiritual warfare. And you could take this message and put it onto anything. That when you see a problem that needs to be fixed or needs to be dealt with, or if there is a way that the enemy is getting in, if there is an opening somewhere that you need to pray, that you need to shut a door or whatever, you tackle it, you go for it. You find that spot and you do whatever you can to make it solid, to seal that crack, to deal with it. And then you move on. And if you see another opening that needs to be dealt with, you do the same thing with that spot. And it can feel like it's never ending. And sometimes it does take a long time, but there always is going to come a point where you've dealt with everything. There will come that point where it becomes easier, where there are less openings, where you've dealt with the majority of issues, where you're going to get rest. You're going to get seasons of rest where, the enemy, your dog, hasn't found an opening in a long time. There hasn't been made a way for them in a long time. So there's seasons of life, seasons of rest. Maybe where you can catch your breath, you can get, you can get back in a right mindset and a right place to be able to get strengthened to tackle the next spot when it comes up, because we know that it does come up. And it may be something like this. It's just, God is so good. It's just such a good message. There may be stuff in your life that doesn't end. There's always going to be something like this in your life. There's always going to be warfare. There's always going to be challenges. There's going to be seasons of rest, seasons of completion for things where you've found all the spots, all the cracks, you've dealt with it, and it's done. And then you can use those lessons to teach other people, to help strengthen other people, to teach them, this is how I've dealt with it. This is how I've shut these doors. This is how I've sealed these cracks. But there's always going to be something in life. There's always going to be something. And isn't it incredible that Lord teaches in such amazing parables? And you see that all through the Bible, how Jesus did that. But you see he's still doing it today, just like he just did for me. And it's, it's going to be like this until the day we're called home. It's going to be like this until the day we're called home. And we have to take each moment and each season as it comes. So as the Lord teaches me through these things, I'm trying now to take every opportunity I can when I'm going through this. And as I'm recording this message, I'm watching her. I can see her from my window. I can see Blueberry right now going up to the part of the fence that I just fixed this morning. I'm going to say, I don't think I can turn this camera around and zoom in far enough. She's sitting by the fence. Oh, she's standing on her back legs, trying to figure out how to get over. And I totally just lost my train of thought, but now I'm going to catch her in the action. And I'm going to watch. I'm going to catch her in the action. I'm going to watch. And I'm going to see, what is she going to do next? And this is where, she gave up. She gave up. This is where hindsight is also so important. So through experiencing this with her, or places in my life where the enemy has gotten in and snuck out or whatever, I've learned the importance, and I've done this before. I've watched her from the window. I sat there for like so long waiting to catch her where she was escaping from so I could figure it out. And I never did. But I waited. I got to the point where I learned to stop stop them in the action, to recognize what was going on and have hindsight and to be prepared ahead of time. So I could take, I lose the word, proactive. I can be proactive about it in the moment and even stop it from happening in the moment and see exactly where she's getting out, where they're getting in, where the enemy is getting in, without having to guess, without having to walk around in my life, look around at every detail of my life and try to figure out what's going on, what's happening. I mean, take everything before the Lord and he will reveal it to you. But to take thank you God for having Blue walk over there, because I wouldn't have probably even talked about this in this message. That's perfect part of this, is being proactive in this now. And the biggest encouragement is knowing that every time I find a spot, every time I fix a new spot, I know that she's going to look around and she's going to try to find another opening. The enemy's going to try and find another opening in your life. But I know it's going to get harder and harder for her, harder and harder for the enemy. As long as I stay proactive, I catch those spots, I fill them in, I cover them, I use the armor of God, I apply the blood of Jesus, I stay proactive and strong and in the Word and in Jesus, so I'm prepared before something like this even happens. And then don't you get so much less overwhelmed too once you come up against something then, but you're already spiritually sound and strong on Jesus. I mean, what a great parable that is too, where Jesus talks about the sowing of the seed, right? And the seed falling on the ground, and there's some seed that fell that didn't grow roots properly, and things just took them out because they weren't fully established and fully grounded and prepared for the storm, for when it comes. God's good, man. So I pray that was a good message for somebody, because I need to go back and watch this video and let it preach to myself again. I'm gonna go back outside and see if I can find more holes. But please, if any of you guys has dealt with this, I've done everything. I've done everything I could. Please don't judge me for this. We did a shock collar in the beginning when she was younger, and we only used the beep and the buzzer, and we used the shock like maybe once or twice when it's like it became like she was going on the highway kind of thing. And she doesn't she bats an eye, like she would whimper and like realize what's happening and didn't care and would just keep going. So my other option is get a wire, right? Like whatever it's called, which is expensive, and we couldn't do it anyway because we don't have a connecting point the way my house and yard is worked. Like it wouldn't work. And even if she got shocked going up to where the wire is, she's so bloody stubborn, she'd go past it. And we had her on a rope at one point and a plastic wire and stuff. But the problem is my kids have free reign to go in and out of the house. It was too exhausting to constantly go outside with them. It's just impossible. I have 4 little kids. It's impossible. So they would go in the house at will and stuff, letting the dogs in and out. And they'd go out when the dog is outside, chained up onto the run, and the run would keep breaking, or the rope would keep breaking. And there were points where they were on the run, but my kids would like constantly get tangled in the run, and it was giving them rope burn, like on their legs. They would like bleed, like there would, like in the natural, guys. Like I don't know what else to do. This is the only option that I see is working. But if you have any tips, please send them my way. I will read every single comment. There's my message for you guys today. I'm so tired. I'm so done. I'm so exhausted. I'm gonna go sleep. And God bless you guys. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.